Dude, it's so smooth. It's so smooth. It's just so smooth. How y'all doing tonight? It is late on a Memorial Day weekend, a holiday weekend. And since I was busy this last weekend dealing with some things, and this UFO file drop happened, so I'm getting my stuff out there. So like earlier today, it was like a three and a half hour long stream, probably 3.5 hours, going over all the videos from the second file dump. I mean, every single video and then every NASA recording. Now, I'm not going to go through all the files that were dropped. What I'm going to go through tonight are the first two. So if you're here, first off, thank you. If you're live and you're here live, I really appreciate it. It is late and there's nothing better on, so you might as well hang out, right? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, that like button, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, we really appreciate that. So these UFO files have presented to us some amazing and some not so amazing stuff. This picture here is one of these slides that actually dropped with the first file drop. And it looks to be some kind of meta material. I know that we hear stories about Gary Nolan walking around with these weird metamaterials like in his pocket, basically showing them off to people. I don't know that any have been proven to be not of elements in this galaxy or solar system, I think. But there's a lot of argument about the way they were lathed, shaped, layered, however. But, you know, at the end of the day, argument is argument. It's just conjecture, and facts are facts. And the facts are, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, none of the so-called quote-unquote metamaterials that have been collected at any site have shown properties not of this galaxy. So you could, what they're arguing is it's the way that it was created, that we don't have that technology. And if we do have that technology, it would take a massive amount of energy, a massive amount of cost to manufacture this thing. So to me personally, with all of my theories that are out there, that makes me think again, sorry to beat the dead horse, but it makes me think again, future humans, us from the future, creating these things and possibly jumping through time, either to fix problems or to nudge problems, nudge people. You know, who knows, all the missing scientists? Maybe future us grabbed them, right? That was one of the weird things at the end of, why can't I think of the Spielberg movie? Oh my gosh, this is gonna drive me nuts. So I am gonna Google it unless somebody wants to drop it in the chat. I can't believe something of the third kind. Oh my God, I feel like such an idiot. Close Encounters. Oh, wow. Come on, Gabe, you're better than that. And really, we got a few people here. Nobody wanted to help me out and put Close Encounters in the chat. I got you. I see how it is. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. At the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, all these people climb out of that UFO from like all different time frames. And it's like all of these people that had disappeared over the years without a trace because they're on a UFO. Because the UFO came and did whatever they do to get you on the ship without anybody noticing. Are some of the, I'm not saying all, but are some of these scientists on a fucking UFO right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure General McCaslin's wife even made a joke about it. Like, your husband's missing and you're like, maybe he was beamed aboard a ship or something like that. I don't know. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But something along those lines, right? Like, in her mind, somewhere a little bit, that's a possibility. I think as time goes by, the older I get and the crazier it seems like the world gets. Maybe that's just old man-itis. But it seems like the boundaries keep getting pushed and we keep discovering new things. And the more advanced the science becomes, the more we figure out it's not quite what we thought. Just like with the age of the solar system and the distance between planets. And the list goes on, and all the things that Hubble is catching that clued us into things we had no idea about. So when I say future humans coming back, it's not that crazy, y'all. It's really not. Okay, so before we get into these two FBI documents, you'll notice this was about Project Twine, how Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, speaking of General McCaslin, was actually the head of the UFO files. A lot of people have said, Roswell, most of those parts, pieces, maybe even beings went to Wright-Pat. Who knows? There's something weird going on in the New Mexico, Arizona area. But before we get into this, we're going to let, so Dan Farah, which people have different opinions on Dan Farah. I don't hate the guy. I don't feel like he's some kind of covert agent trying to mislead us. I think he's like a lot of us, just trying to figure it out. But this is what Dan Farah had to say just today on News Nation about these files. And then we're going to get into these FBI files here. Or I'm sorry, these UFO files. Yeah, they're not quite FBI level yet.
Correspondent Brian Enton has been pouring through these documents. Brian, hello. What videos caught your attention?
Yeah, I've been going through these videos and the new documents since 8 a.m. this morning, Hannah, when they all were first released. And there's some really interesting ones. 64 total, second big batch that's been released. President Trump obviously ordered that these videos be released. Let me show you this first one.
Now, we watched all these in our stream this morning. And there were some that were meh, and there were some that are unbelievable. You have to check it out.
This is video here from a U.S. military sensor in Syria. This one is getting a lot of attention. The video, I think we're going to play it here in a second. The video is from 2021, and you can see what looks like a bright sphere. There it is. Sort of like a bright sphere-looking orb traveling over the surface. And if you wait a couple of seconds here, Hannah, and watch it closely, it picks up speed and then it literally just zooms off. There it was, right there at the end. That is the part that experts are especially perplexed by, because
somebody was having a good laugh at the phrase instantaneous acceleration, as in, what other kind of acceleration is there? Maybe that should be changed to like non-human acceleration levels, right? Like, I don't know what the term could be, but obviously biologics like us could not survive a transition in speed like that. There's just no way. We'd immediately pass out, if not die. So it's either, autonomous or not human, or maybe both.
Our technology, we are told, just couldn't do that. Where at the end there, it literally just zooms off the screen. All right, next video. This one is interesting, Hannah. A formation of UFOs over the Persian Gulf. You see right there, again, captured by a military sensor. There are what appear to be 3 dots. You can see traveling together. Sometimes they kind of space apart a little more and then they get closer together. And this video was uploaded to a classified network in October of 2019. Again, experts do not seem to know what this is. Another video here, we move on to the next one. This one is from October of 2020. Look at that. See that little black dot? We circled it. Traveling across the city. We don't know exactly where this is. Military isn't telling us. But again, captured by a military sensor. They don't know what it is, and it just moves very slowly there across the screen. Again, from October 2020, it goes from the
and that's one of those ones that's like in high def, and so I don't think they'll be able to say that's a weather balloon.
City there, and then it goes out over to the mountains.
I mean, I guess they could.
Location. There's a lot they left.
Actually, I think that's one that does actually sort of look like a balloon. There's a few of them that they do actually look like balloons, and then there's some that not so much. This one, the way that it's floating and levitating, I think I felt like this one might have actually been a balloon.
They left out when they gave descriptions for these videos.
Yeah, it's kind of tumbling.
We don't know if they're being vague on
like
purpose.
Maybe
but this one was interesting, Henna. You see, just continues to move over the mountain.
See, look, seriously, it looks like a balloon that lost whatever was connected to it, which happens all the time.
There, some of these videos, we obviously clipped them down for you, but some of them go on 10, 13 minutes where they literally track these objects, and it just goes
for real, y'all. It was a long episode. It was a good thing I come prepared with material, because that was a long episode. Like, I don't even want to hear them talk about it anymore, because all I did was talk about videos for 4 hours this morning. If you want to hear Gabe talk about the videos, like several hours ago, earlier this morning, I did a whole 3.5 hour stream. All the videos covered, start to finish, all the angles, everything, everything that has been released. We've all seen the trailer for Age of Disclosure 100 times.
And alleges an 80-year global cover-up.
Okay, so here's Dan Farah.
Intelligent alien life and, of course, technology. Dan Farah joining me live now. Dan, welcome to the show. We've been excited to talk to you all day. Your film argues we're entering a new era of disclosure, transparency after today's release. Do you believe this is the transparency the UFO community has been looking for this whole time?
Yeah, look, I think we're living through a major turning point in human history, and I couldn't be prouder of the role the film is playing in it. The Age of Disclosure drove a national conversation that led to our government taking this historic, unprecedented disclosure.
Oh my God. Dan Farah is why we're getting disclosure. Did y'all know that?
Movement and moving it forward.
It's all Dan. We couldn't have done it without you, Dan.
Getting a lot of buzz tonight. I talked about a few. Brian Ensign brought up a few as well. One video was filmed by an infrared sensor. It was on a military platform. It happened near Syria in 2021. It shows an object that appears to just instantaneously accelerate, going from a dead stop to extreme speed in a fraction of a second. I believe that's the video. Yeah, that is it. What do you make of what we're seeing, Dan?
It's very fast.
I think a lot of the videos released today and in the first tranche of evidence released on May 8th, they show UAP performing in ways that no known aircraft can. These things are moving faster than our fastest fighter jets. They're displaying the ability to do instantaneous acceleration. Simply put, there is no human-made technology that can do that.
Let's move on to another video that appears to show the moment a fighter jet shot down a UFO over Lake Huron. This was in 2023. This incident came after a Chinese spy balloon was spotted over the U.S. We're looking at that video now. And then you kind of just see it implode. What do you make of this?
Yeah, look, it's just it's more of the same. I think
we put together, that was just one of the balloons that we shot down. One of the Chinese balloons. I don't know why they won't say they're Chinese, or obviously Chinese balloons. When Biden was president, they ordered the shoot down of a bunch of them over the United States, over Canada. What was really concerning was it was like the northern United States, where we put a lot of our bunkers inside those mountains, and we have a lot of classified buildings up there. So that was really concerning. They were able to float essentially an antenna above us for God knows how long before we finally shot them out of the sky. But I think we figured out by watching that video this morning that it was just another angle of the video that's already out there of us shooting down a UFO.
I think what we're seeing now is the evidence that the government can safely declassify and share with the public. But it's important to remember this barely scratches the surface. There is a lot of evidence that still exists within various federal agencies, various private defense contractors, and branches of the military that is still heavily classified. Right now, what's happening is the White House is driving forward an effort to get that evidence out of those federal agencies and out of the various branches of the military so that they can start declassifying more. But what we're seeing now barely scratches the surface. There's a lot of evidence that shows UAP that are clearly not made by humans doing things that humans do not currently have the ability to do.
Your documentary alleges an 80-year global cover-up.
That's the thing for me is like some of these things are, I'm convinced it's our technology, some of it. But the science behind it, it must be so classified, man, like higher than building a fake town so you could hide the nuke development plan, right? Like the Manhattan Project, they built an entire town. And Oppenheimer was out there running it. People would thought you were crazy. They got a town out there. There's some scientists running it. I don't know what they're fucking doing. There's military everywhere, but they got like stores. They got roads. They got plumbing. They got electricity. It's like, it's a town. What's it called? Is it a base? I don't. It's just a town. They thought you were nuts. Not so nuts now. I'll tell you what, though, Dan looks like he's been enjoying, I don't know, the cheeses. Do the cheeses puff up the face like that? It looks like he's been enjoying the cheeses, relicking in the victors. To the victor goes the spoils, right? Speaking of, I don't know, victors, this was Jeremy Corbell today on X. Very interesting post. Or maybe it's the 23rd, International Block the Bollocks Day. So he's, this is like deciding who to block, I guess. I don't block anyone, so I don't. It's weird to me. Since dropping the movie Sleeping Dog, since the drop, I've been watching how certain government factions and their IC adjacent operatives respond when truth reaches the public. Oh my God, I can't even read. It's so late. And honestly, it's weak sauce, fucking weak sauce. Here's what I know I have hard confirmation on. Certain government initiatives have been legally deploying coordinated bot networks and paid sock puppet accounts to flood UAP news stories with disinformation. This isn't speculation. Also very obvious. Just 10 days ago, 13 May, CIA Senior Operations Officer James E. Erdman testified before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee about exactly this kind of internal corruption. Look it up. Look it up, y'all. I've kept my comments open for years, deliberately. It was an investigative choice to observe how they operate. Let them reveal their playbook. Let them think they're winning. They did. They weren't. And I'll say this plainly. I expected more. The tactics are unsophisticated. The bots are clumsy. The narratives are recycled and lazy. The people running these operations either fundamentally underestimate the American public, or they've simply had a real or they've simply never had a real conversation with one. Either way, they miscalculated on a monumental level. And that's fascinating. Patience has a season. That's over. Today, I'm doing something simple and clarifying. I'm blocking approximately 50 accounts bots, paid shills, and regime-serving noise rustlers who've been weaponizing my platform, your platform, our platform, to muddy the waters on UAP disclosure. When I'm done, see who I blocked. That's what a state-adjacent influence operation looks like up close. Unimpressive, outmatched, exposed. Let me be direct about who is getting blocked. These are not skeptics. These are not critical thinkers. These are not even worthy adversaries. These are people who sold their intellectual credibility, if they ever had any, to run interference on the single most important truth-seeking conversation in human history. They're less... This is so hard. Sounds serious reading this. They're less perceptive than the average American asking honest questions at the kitchen table. They got paid to be blind. To the IC professionals doing the right thing, you already know what I'm referencing. Check your own systems. The JWICs. You know the operation. You know the memo. The one where CIA outlined how to shape the emerging UAP narrative. Outlined how to... I'm sorry. I've read it. I've reported it. George Knapp knows too. The people with integrity inside these institutions know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't capitulate. Okay. So we're going to stop right there. And I'm just going to say this. Since there's been people interested in UFOs and what's flying in our skies, enough of them to start gathering up and talking about it, there have been government influencers as part of that conversation. That's not new. Since this was a subject, there's been government involvement trying to mold and shape the narrative, trying to keep people looking where they want them to look, not where they're not supposed to look, in our best interest. So again, it's like, okay, cool post, dude, but it's nothing new. They've been doing that. Your main creative content is about UFOs, of course, and you have a lot of followers now. And you had a lot of people that listen to what you have to say about things. Fuck, we play his podcasts, shit, at least probably once a month we play a part of it. So he's definitely plugged in and talks to people that are plugged in for sure. And so, yeah, they're going to be on your ass, dude. Absolutely. If you even talk about this subject on a video, on a podcast, you're going to get weird emails. It's like part of the gig. Okay. One battlefield is social media, and we can use that against them. But the real battlefield, it's simpler and older and more powerful than any algorithm they've ever built. It's your voice. In your kitchen, at your job, with your family, on your street, unfiltered, unmanaged, and pointed directly at the truth. They can manipulate a feed. They cannot manipulate a conversation between two people who have decided to stop being quiet. Want to bet? I bet they can. So here's the move. Be loud, tag people, say what you mean. What you say, follow through. Mean what you say, follow through. Nothing disrupts the perception management operation faster than millions of clear-eyed people talking to each other without permission. Well, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Today, 23 May is International Block the Bullocks Day. Clean your house, blah, 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 blah. The gremlins getting starved now. No more feeding them. Let's light this candle. And Alex Shepard quote, your brother in this fight always, Jeremy Kenyon Locker Carvel. Oh, he has an AKA now. AKA 5 name. Oh, Jeremy 5 name. All right. Would you just say 5 name? Because that'd be kind of redundant to say Jeremy and then JKLC. Okay. And then Go UFO. And then I don't know what this is. Some kind of scene from a movie, I guess. Well, I'm not going to get stricken for that. All right. So I just thought that was quite funny. Funny read. I thought I would share it with y'all. Let's get to this stuff, because this is what we're here for. This is what I started the stream for. This is the goodies. And one thing about, we're going to go through two files today. So we're going to go from one that's marked 46 to 47, volume 2. So you can download this right from the Department of War website. I used to have it bookmarked. I guess I don't anymore. But you can just go to the Department of War website, search UAP. You can find all these files, download them right to your own system, which I have recommended everybody do, because you never know what they're going to stop, what they're going to pull back. They did that with the Epstein files. They released some shit and then they pulled some shit back. That's crazy. So we're looking at this first document here, part of the second drop. Air Material Command. Now, Air Material Command was always seen as, Air Material Command for our own fighters and bombers and transportation, anything in the air that was involved with the military. Air Material Command was started for. But Air Material Command, if we look back to these early documents, actually became like kind of the de facto crash retrieval system. And people will tell you, the crash retrieval is all about retrieving our own craft or some advanced test craft from another nation we might be able to retrieve before they do, and see what kind of technology they got in there, see what kind of goodies they got. Well, this document is going to spell out for us. It's going to show us. And this is what's kind of crazy about this release. And we've seen bits and pieces of these documents before, I'm sure, especially if you've researched this subject at all. We've seen bits and pieces of this stuff before. But to see it laid out like this and the way it was maintained at the government level is quite astonishing. So it starts on this first page, and you see the subject right there, flying discs. That's the subject. This is date marked December 19th, 1947. It's to the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, which was new in those days. Attention, Director, Research and Development, Major General Craigie. 1. Confirming the recent conversation of the undersigned with Major General L.C. Craigie, 9 December 1947. Attached as listed below are copies of the reports from this headquarters concerning flying discs. Comments of headquarters, Air Force, on these letters have never been received by this command. Continued and recent reports from qualified observers concerning this phenomenon still make this matter one of concern to headquarters, Air Material Command. Intelligence Department of the command is continuing the collection and analysis of all available reports for the commanding general. And there's a sign off here. Jump over to the next page. And I think this is just like some kind of a tracking mechanism they have. Nothing too crazy there. Now we get into this. This is dated 30 December 1947. Again, the subject is flying discs. 1. References made to 3 enclosures. I'm sorry, I'm old. I'm going blind. References made to 3 enclosures, memoranda from your office to this headquarters, subject as above, flying discs. It is Air Force policy not to ignore reports of sightings and phenomena in the atmosphere, but to recognize that part of its mission is to collect, collate, evaluate, and act on information of this nature. In implementing this policy, it is desired that the Air Material Command set up a project whose purpose is to collect, collate, evaluate, and distribute to interested government agencies and contractors all information concerning sightings and phenomenon in the atmosphere which can be construed to be of concern to national security. 1947. So all this time, all those people, they made to feel like kooks and crazies and nutsos because of what they were. 80 years of denying this. And on the third page of this document, in 1947, the Air Force is acknowledging not only this phenomenon, but the fact that there are leftover materials that they need to collect as a priority. This is disclosure. This is disclosure. They're telling you, they're telling us, this is real. There is something to it. And I think that's something we all knew. But now we have to decide who we're going to trust to be honest about what the deal is. Are we going to have somebody like shoving a narrative down our throats, trying to guide us a certain way that, so happens to put them in power and give them a lot of benefits? Because that seems to be the case a lot of the time, right? The people that have all the answers also need all the money for some reason. Oh, boy. Okay. Number 4, it is suggested that the activities of this project include the preparation and distribution of an initial report as recommended in Enclosure 1, and that subsequent reports be issued on a quarterly basis. Supplementary reports should be issued at more frequent intervals, should the need for some be indicated. This project is assigned priority 2A, whatever the fuck that means, with a security classification of restricted and code name of Project Sign. There it is. Their data of classification higher than restricted is handled by the project. Such data should be classified accordingly. A complete interchange of data should be effected as recommended in Enclosure 1. And down at the bottom there, you see some signatures of the parties involved here. Next page. Again, I think this is just kind of how they track things. This is... Let's go here. This is Headquarters, 4th Air Force, Office of the Assistant Chief of Staff, A2, Intelligence, Hamilton Field, California. Now, this is dated December 5th, 1947. A lot of activity going on December 47. Wonder why that is. Flying disc. 1. The attached photographs were forwarded to this office by a very reliable source of information obtained from a Mary L. Herron. And it gives her avenue. Oh, look at that. Portland, Oregon. She advises these photographs were taken sometime between November 5th and 12th, 1946, in the vicinity of Jefferson, Oregon, and points out the formation in the photographs as being objects she did not recall seeing herself, but she thought might possibly be flying discs. The objects were referred to appear in the sky area of each accompanying photograph. The uniformity of the markings would tend to indicate that the camera or film used to take these pictures was possibly defective. No incidents of flying discs have been reported from the vicinity or about the inclusive dates named above. They scratched something out there. Mrs. Herron has requested the return of the negatives. If desired, this office will obtain the negatives and forward them at your request. So these are your pictures. Can we take a look at them? Great. Yeah, we're also going to need those negatives. That's what they're saying they could do there. If you want the negatives, boss, tell us. We'll get it all. Wonder if they said please or thank you. Okay, this is dated 18 November, so about a month prior. Flying Disc, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force. The enclosed newspaper clippings are submitted for your information and comment. The incident reported in Seattle appeared in the Dayton Journal on 12 November 47 and should be followed up if possible. The story by Lionel Shapiro regarding war weapons developed in Spain evidently was printed in a number of leading newspapers throughout the country. The significance of this article will be dependent upon certain essential elements for such alleged important developments, such as funds, materials, experimental testing facilities, and technological know-how. The latter is supposed to be supplied by German scientists. The German scientists at this HQ indicate that no important scientists from Germany are working in Spain, and those mentioned in this article are not known to them. If possible, therefore, an effort should be made to obtain names, qualifications, or any information that might help to identify the alleged German scientists working in Spain. A brief statement was made in a recent intelligence report from HQ U.S. Air Force regarding a flying disc incident in Alaska in September. The close-range sighting reported should render a more detailed observation than what was reported, which also suggests a follow-up. It is further requested that this office be advised as to progress being made on the plotting of all flying disc incidents to date, particularly in North America. It was understood that Dr. Carroll was going to plot these incidents, but no further word was received regarding this effort. An effort should be made to obtain names, qualifications, or any information that might help to identify the alleged German scientists working in Spain. I think that's going to be very relevant. Reference letter subject to above dated 18 November 47 is requested that immediate action be taken to appropriately mark or stamp this correspondence with the classification secret. And for the commanding general, sign off on that so we can switch it from, I don't know, confidential to secret, I guess. Now we're going back September 23rd, 1947. Let me make sure we're on the same page here. Here we go. Air Material Command, subject AMC, Air Material Command, opinion concerning, quote, flying discs. As requested by ACAS-2, there is presented below the considered opinion of this command concerning the so-called flying discs. This opinion is based on interrogation report data furnished by ACAS-2 and preliminary studies by personnel of T2 and Aircraft Laboratory, Engineering Division, T3. This opinion was arrived at in a conference between personnel from the Air Institute of Technology, Intelligence T2, Office, Chief of Engineering Division, and the Aircraft, Power Plant, and Propeller Labs of Engineering Division, Team 3. It is the opinion that A, the phenomenon reported is something real and not visionary or fictitious. B, there are objects probably approximating the shape of a disc of such appreciable size as to appear to be as large as man-made aircraft. C, there is a possibility that some of the incidents may be caused by natural phenomena such as meteors. D, the reported operating characteristics such as extreme rates of climb, maneuverability, particularly in roll, and action which must be considered evasive, underlined, when sighted or contacted by friendly aircraft and radar. Lend belief to the possibility that some of the objects are controlled either manually, automatically, or remotely. The apparent common description of the objects is as follows: metallic or light reflecting surface. Let's get to the next page here. Absence of trail, except in a few instances when the object apparently was operating under high performance conditions. Circular or elliptical in shape, flat on bottom and dome on top. Several reports of well-kept formation flights varying from 3 to 9 objects. Holy shit, is that not what we saw earlier today in those videos? Normally no associated sound, except in 3 instances, a substantial rumbling, roar was noted. Level flight speeds normally above 300 knots, estimated. Yo, this is 1947. It is possible, within the present U.S. knowledge, provided extensive detailed development is undertaken, to construct a piloted aircraft which has the general description of the object in subparagraph E, above which would be capable of an approximate range of 7,000 miles at subsonic speeds. Any developments in this country along the lines indicated would be extremely expensive, time-consuming, and at the considerable expense of current projects, and therefore, if directed, should be set up independently of existing projects. Y'all catch that? Smooth operator. Any developments in this country along the lines indicated would be extremely expensive, time-consuming, and at the considerable expense of current projects, and therefore, if directed, should be set up independently of existing projects. Due consideration must be given the following: the possibility that these objects are of domestic origin, the product of some high security project not known to AC, AS2, or this command. 2, the lack of physical evidence in the shape of crash recovered exhibits, which would undeniably prove the existence of these objects. 3, the possibility that some foreign nation has a form of propulsion, possibly nuclear, which is outside of our domestic knowledge. Okay. So we're basically saying the same things today that they were saying in 1947. Right? I mean, it's either not human or controlled by some faction that we're not aware of, i.e., like a government contractor. Or it might be some other nation's technology that we're not aware of. And we are saying these same things 70 years later, 80 years later. It is recommended that Headquarters, Army Air Force, issue a directive assigning a priority security classification and code name for a detailed study of this matter, to include the preparation of complete sets of all available and pertinent data, which will then be made available to the Army, Navy, Atomic Energy Commission, JRDB, the Air Force Scientific Advisory Group, NACA, and the RAND and NEPA projects for comments and recommendations, with a preliminary report to be forwarded within 15 days of receipt of the data, and detailed report thereafter every 30 days as the investigation continues. Wow. A complete interchange of data should be effected. Awaiting a specific directive, AMC will continue the investigation with its current resources in order to more closely define the nature of the phenomenon. Detailed, essential elements of information will be formulated immediately with transmittal through channels. Y'all think that happened? All right, so here we have 23 September 47. AMC opinion concerning the flying discs. This is basically kind of it's almost like the same page. Let me see here. Yeah, they're saying the same. So this must be, I don't know, copy of the same page. It's kind of weird. Okay, we have an additional note at the bottom of these pages. This letter was coordinated by Colonel Moore, Mr. Sicky, General Putt, Colonel Menti, General Brenthal. I don't know. Cursive is hard to read, y'all. That's why they don't. My kid went to school. They don't even teach him cursive anymore. Isn't that weird? It's like, no, it's cursive. In compliance with General McDonald's telephone conversation, this date to Colonel H.H. McCoy, T2, HQ, AMC, attached herewith is a copy of a drawing entitled Loading Flying Disc, designated LD2. Because of patent rights involved, it is requested that a record be kept of all persons reviewing this drawing by witnessing with signatures and dates directly on the drawing. This drawing should be returned to this office when it has served its purpose so that it can be turned over to the patent office, HQ AMC, for official record. And then it goes over what they've included. Interesting. So they're saying this is, this is very real. This is a very real thing. This isn't just like something people are seeing, that kooks are seeing. This is a conversation that they're having internally. They're concerned about this. Of course, they should be. It's their job to defend our airspace and know what the fuck is going on. And they don't know. But they are stating what they do know is it's real. They would love more ways to prove that it's real, like crash recoveries and things of that nature. So, hey, let's organize a crash recovery team. Let's set it up so as soon as we have the possibility of a crash or interception, our team is there. A representative, this is to Commanding General Air Material Command, Wright Field, Ohio. Here we go, right, Pat? This is 28 October 1947, so about a month and a half after the last piece of paperwork we have in this chain here. A representative of this headquarters has contacted Lieutenant Colonel Herbert C.G. concerning Mrs. Merchant's theory on the flying discs, as expressed to General Brenthal. Brenthal? I don't know. It is recommended that no action be taken to interrogate Mrs. Merchant and that this case be closed by order of Secretary of the Air Force. Interesting. So we're missing that, right? Okay, let's go back a page and look at these because it has some cases listed here. All right, so looking at this page, enclosed here with prepared for the Royal Aircraft Establishment Technical Note, Aero 1703, which describes the Horten tailless aircraft. And we know the Hortens made the flying wing, which was of great interest to our aerospace folks. The following references are invited, which is considered significant in relating the Horten brothers' perspective, thinking, and accomplishments toward the flying saucer case. And it goes through different citations of their work that could be relevant to the flying saucer case. A recent report from the U.S. military attaché Moscow, USSR, dated 9 June 1947, indicates that 1,800 aircraft, directly or indirectly, based on the Horten 8 design, 6-engine pusher, having a wingspread of 131 feet and a gross weight of approximately 33,000 pounds, are being built for bomber squadron use. The Russian version, however, is jet-propelled. Reference report, whose indication number, and then they have the report number. The T2 report, German flying wings designed by Horten brothers. Also enclosed herewith may be retained by your office if desired. For the commanding general, H.M. McCoy, includes drawings, a tech note, and a report. So there's the first mention there of the Horten flying wing. Another thing that we've read so far that was very interesting is when I was reading the description of those UFOs on this report and how they fly. That's basically what we were seeing on the videos today. I mean, you could go watch them. The UFO videos that they dropped, part 2 drop and part 1 drop. What they were saying in this paper explained, God, so many of the videos. Extreme climb rates, extreme maneuverability, especially in a roll type situation, evasive behavior when approached by aircraft or radar. You can see them as soon as it's almost like they realize there's a camera focused on them sometimes, and they'll just take off. There's no reason for it other than somebody or something was focused on it and it knew and took off. Instantaneous acceleration. It's the same thing. They're looking at these things in 19. They just didn't have the technology we have to capture it on camera like we have done over the last 80 years. So we're 80 years, y'all. And we're back to the same government narrative. We don't know. We got to gather more information. I don't know. Yeah, here's some crazy looking videos. Check those out. We don't know. (1947) and 2026 are describing suspiciously similar performance envelopes, aren't they? I mean, suspiciously specific, not to use too many S's here. Suffer and succotash. There's a lot of relation, a lot of connection there. Well, we've also seen Project Sign literally being born in real time. That December 47 memo stated, collect, collate, evaluate, distribute information on sightings that may concern national security. That's essentially the formation logic behind Project Sign. You're literally watching the bureaucracy invent formal UFO investigation. All that we haven't seen so far is, also make all the reporters look like kooks by the time you're done. Embarrass them so bad their own family won't even want to talk to them. Do that too. Discredit them. Turn them into liars. Fucking terrible. We have Project Sign in 1948, and then we had Project Grudge, and then we had Project Blue Book, and then we had OSAP, and then we had the UAP Task Force, and now we have Arrow. It's all the same shit. I might as well say ATIP too, even though ATIP wasn't even really a thing. ATIP was like after school special. It was like hobbyists with clearance. That's what ATIP was. It's not a program if there's no funding. I promise. So we had back then the same type of reaction that we have today, which was there's this thing, it's real. Let's organize a way to collect all this data and all this information and possibly these metamaterials. And let's give this organization an important name and this project an important name, like Project Sign or Grudge or Blue Book or Arrow or the UAP Task Force. Make it sound really official, like you're really trying to get those answers. Have you all listened to those UAP tasks? Look, I think Luna's great. I think Burchett's great. I think Burleson's great. I think they're all trying to get to the truth. But they have got them so spun up. I mean, Luna's talking about angels and demons. Burchett's talking about not being able to sleep at night because reality isn't even what you think it is. Gates is talking about hybrid programs. Burleson's the only one that's like, I don't know. And Burleson has Grush on his staff, which is even more strange. What a world, yeah, I tell you. Okay. So we are at 28 October 1947. And this is where we jump back at. So this was the representative of the headquarters of the AMC has contacted Lieutenant Colonel concerning this lady's theory about flying discs. And that's why I was looking back, because they basically say in this memo, hey, if you need us to interrogate her, it looks like we decided not to interrogate her, but we can if you need us to. It's fucking, I don't know who this lady is, but we're gonna have to research that a little bit more when it's not 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Flying discs, 13 October, 47. Attached copies of communications are self-explanatory and indicate action taken to obtain additional information regarding the subject. Assistance from Lieutenant Colonel Herbert C.G. was with reference to the social standing and character of Mrs. Merchant to determine justification for further investigation of her theories. In view of Lieutenant Colonel Gee's transfer to Washington, D.C., it is suggested that a representative from headquarters contact and interview him. General Brentnall stated that Mrs. Merchant was extremely talkative and seemed quite intent on promoting a personal enterprise instead of cooperating to help solve an intelligence problem. You don't say. Not cooperative, you say. Comments and suggestions, therefore, regarding further action to interrogate Mrs. Merchant would be appropriate in order to close this case as soon as possible. Wow. I can't even come up with a smart ass that is so fucking crazy. That's beyond fucking crazy. Well, she wants her own enterprise instead of helping the team. God damn, that sounds like some people today. Well, if you want to know the inside information, give me a break. All right, let's see. I think this is the same report, 13 October 47. And this gets into what she thought. General Brental, during a recent visit at Las Vegas, was contacted by a Mrs. Madeline Gwynn Merchant, Santa Fe, New Mexico, who described what may be termed a novel theory concerning flying discs. According to her theory, flying discs are being fired from a locality in central Mexico, from a lab which is being operated by the Russians. She claims they are being aimed at the United States for the purpose of sighting in on important atomic energy and aircraft installments. (1947). General Brental states that he does not have any further interest in an interrogation of Mrs. Merchant, since it is not an engineering matter. However, he recommends that if HQ Air Material Command T2 wishes to sponsor an intelligent interrogation of this nature, the Colonel Howard Bunker should be contacted to determine the name and address of the colonel at Las Vegas who has knowledge of this case. In view of General Brental's suggestion, no direct contact will be made with Mrs. Merchant. It is requested, therefore, that the name and address of the above-mentioned colonel be made available to this office as soon as possible so that further action is deemed advisable can be taken. That's incredible. Wow. I mean, this is the thing, right? That lady had that theory in 47. And we're listening to people throw around the theory now that countries outside of the U.S., country or countries, I'm not sure if it's plural or not, have advancements that can disrupt our airspace or even take control of certain parts of our airspace, especially in the New Mexico, Arizona area. It's so kooky. All the nuclear shit we did around there. And also all the weird shit that continues to happen ever since then. Almost like they're related. I don't know. All right, let's see how much further we got. Okay, so we only got a few more pages here, guys. The officer referred to in Par 3 is Lieutenant Colonel Herbert C.G., who was formerly commanding officer at Los Alamos rather than Las Vegas, as stated. He is now stationed in the office, Chief of Engineers, Civil Works Division, Washington, D.C. There is no replacement for Lieutenant Colonel Gee at Los Alamos, and no information is available to indicate that any individual in this vicinity has more information concerning Mrs. Merchant's theory than Brigadier General Brental of AMC, who personally conducted an interview with her. So what's interesting is they had an interest in her theory, even though it seems like they were very quick to kind of move it along, sweetheart. You know, great idea, get out of here. But I find it fascinating that in 47, this woman's theory made it this high up the chain. So clearly, they thought what she was saying made some kind of sense, which is terrifying. I mean, we can say at this point, obviously, the Russians weren't doing that. But what if an NHI is doing that? Or what if some other country is doing that? All right, so we had one of those marker pages, kind of a blank page there that says, Flying Saucers, Commanding General Air Army. It is requested that this office be furnished all available information concerning an alleged flying saucer flight sighting made by a radar station in Japan. This incident was mentioned by Dr. Charlie Carroll. during a conference in Brigadier General Schlugen's office attended by MRAC Lodig T2 representative on 5 September 1947. I mean, they are all over anything that comes out at this point. They want it before it's on the networks. They want it from the original source, and they want it now. And it looks like they had that authority. As arranged verbally with Mr. Loading, enclosed is the complete file maintained by this office on reported sightings of flying discs. This file is forwarded so that photostat may be made in order to provide your command with a duplicate set of these sightings. When photostating this material for your purpose, it will be appreciated if one extra set is made for this office and returned at the same time the originals are returned. This file and the duplicates should be returned as soon, so on and so forth. Okay, not very exciting stuff. Now, this next page does look kind of exciting, possibly. Let's see what it says here. Looks promising. We have a routing and record sheet. Oh, okay. So 22 August 47 routing and record sheet. From a detailed study of certain reported observations on the flying saucers selected for their veracity and reliability, it is apparent that several aspects of their appearance have a common pattern. Before pursuing its investigation of those objects any further, this office requests assurance that no research project of the Army Air Force at present being something flown has the following characteristics, and that it may therefore be assumed the recent flying saucer mystery is not of United States origin. So, you know, they're saying, hey, before we dump a bunch of resources into this, we got to know that this isn't part of some special access program or some runaway contractor or something else that you're aware of. Surface is metallic, indicating a metallic skin, at least. When a trail is observed, it is a lightly colored blue-brown haze, similar to a rocket engine's exhaust. Contrary to a rocket of the solid type, one observation indicates that the fuel may be throttled, which would indicate a liquid rocket engine. Okay. Size estimates place it somewhere near the size of a C-54 or Constellation, as they would appear while flying at 10,000 feet. Some reports describe two tabs located at the rear and symmetrical about the axis of flight motion. Flights have been reported containing from 3 to 9 objects, flying good formation on each other with speeds always above 300 knots. The discs oscillate laterally while flying along, which could be snaking. God, that again, you watch those videos and they're describing exactly the same thing. So they're seeing exactly what we're seeing, but 80 years ago and without all the camera and high-tech FLIR stuff and all that. Insane. Okay. That was a pretty big document, bigger than I could fit off more than I chew, I think. So what I'm going to do is I will be back tomorrow and we're going to go over our second document, but it's like past my bedtime. So I'm going to go to sleep, y'all. Love y'all for hanging out. Hope you got something good out of this. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, all those good things. Have a great night, everyone. Get some rest.